So this is just another run of Sword Saint. Arguably the hardest boss in the game. For me. I mean, some people might find Demon harder or Fire Ishin harder. For me, Sword Saint's the hardest fight in the game. I fought him, I don't know how many fucking times now. Lots. And, you know, at this point, I mean, there have been some patches, some updates, and the fight is a little different. He feels a bit more unpredictable. His moveset feels a bit different, which is good. The one thing that's not different is Genichiro is still easy as fuck. Now, if you are struggling with Sword Saint in any way, the first bit of advice that I would have for anybody is to make sure that you are not taking any damage or having to use any gourds against Genichiro. You should be able to nail the Genichiro fight without any issues. So, Ishin's first phase, and yes, I do get a little fucked up here and there. I think I use like 3 gourds. It's not perfect, fuck it. This move right here is one that I sometimes struggle with. I get clipped, and I'm sure there's a great way to handle it, but I always like to just run to the side. Same with this. I like to run away and then take a couple of hits. I missed the Makiri like a fucking champ. That move, where he will sort of come in quick with the swipe with his right hand, you have to be ready for that. Like I totally was right there. So he has 2 moves in the first phase, 2 or 3 that can be Makiri'd. That's one of them. This is the other one. And his posture doesn't decrease all that slowly. I feel like it's pretty forgiving to the player in that once you start building it kind of hangs there. So you have plenty of opportunities to fuck him up. And, you know, just be aggressive in his first phase. Deflect properly, always. Like that. God damn it. And, you know, the real Sword Saint fight is the second phase. I mean, that's the big one. You know, the first phase here sort of gets your palette ready, and then the second one is the big one, and then the third phase is, you know, sort of the climb down. So the second phase, if you know how to deflect, you shouldn't have too much of an issue with learning his moves. Alright, now he has several thrust attacks that can be Makiri'd, and he's about to do this, so he will fire 4 shots and then do the thrust. There's another where he will sort of sweep around and then do a thrust that you can Makiri. I fuck up right here. So it's also important to note that you can't knock him off his poise. He will move through your attacks sometimes, so don't spam R1 trying to knock him off his attack. Fighting in these flowers can be kind of a bitch, because he also has another perilous that I think he's about to do where he will sweep, where sometimes he might Makiri, and you have to be ready for that, because he does do a lot of damage. Right here, yeah. And this, you can actually jump up and pounce on him. I always run away and then jump in to do a couple of attacks. So after the second phase, I mean the third phase is the same, with the exception of 2 things. This, the lightning, and the other attack where he sends out the waves. But I feel like the third phase is sort of, I mean, it's intentionally, I think, easier anyway. I mean, the lightning reversals make it easier, I think anyway, because they do just a ridiculous amount of damage if you pull them off, and they're not hard to pull off. So what I tell everybody, and what I continuously harp on, is if you struggle with Sword Saint, I mean, a lot of the people that I've talked to, like, they go into this fight, this 4-phase gauntlet, and they just try to full balls fuck him up without really understanding what his moveset is. Why? Why would you do that? You know, like, yeah, you might get lucky, but more often than not, you're just going to get fucked. So my best advice is, you know, make sure that you can get through Genichiro without really getting hit or using any gourds, and then when you get to his first phase, make sure you know that. before you move on to his second phase, and then make sure you know. And if you know the second phase, you know the third phase. So each part of this fight should be approached as its own boss. So once you know Genichiro, then do Ishin's first phase. Once you know that, do Ishin's second phase. So really the only thing that you should really be concerned about when you go into this is how that third phase is going to roll. Because you would have mastered each of the 3 that came before it. And if you do that, and it doesn't take long to really understand those movesets, you're never really going to struggle with Sword Saint. But, certainly it's a hard fight, but it's flawless, and it's fun. So, go stomp him.